Welcome into another edition of Inside the Zone alongside Tom Davis and News Sentinel. I'm News Channel 15's Joe Whalen. And Tom, the regular season in the books, incredibly. We're already talking sectional playoff action here.
It's amazing. Yeah, you and I were out at the Luers-Dwenger scrimmage, it seems like just a few days ago.
Well, it zips right along, but before we get to the postseason, let's do a quick recap because several conference championships were decided in the final week of play. And let's start in the SAC. Northside, I don't think too many people have the Redskins winning it all this season, but after coming close a year ago, they closed out the deal in 2013.
Yeah, if you could go back and maybe edit the tape a little bit, maybe I had Northside winning the SAC this year, but it would have to be a serious editing job because, yeah, we all thought that Northside could be competitive in the SAC, but to finish the job and overtake Dwenger, who was rebounding from a mediocre season last year, and powerful Snyder, I think it kind of surprised a lot of people. First title since 1991. Michael Levette's a great quarterback. They've got a good athletic defense. Kudos to Ryan Hall for getting this job done. He said a few weeks ago he wasn't concerned about the SAC. He was more concerned about the sectional, which he'll have to be concerned because he's in a tough sectional. But he did, after winning the title, really talk about how special this moment is. Get that team photo put up on the wall and something that those kids can cherish forever.
Well, Northside was in a position that you want to be in, controlling your own destiny. All they had to do was top Northrop to claim the title, and they did that 42-16. New Haven also found itself in that same situation. A win over Homestead would guarantee the Bulldogs their first conference title of any kind in the NHC, but it gives it to them outright, and they snap an 8-year losing streak against the Spartans in the process.
A lot of people have snapped losing streaks against the Spartans this year. It's been a really rough year for Homestead. They've lost 4 of their last 5, and they're really struggling, and could be 5 of their last 6 with this coming game against Carroll in the sectional. But you know, New Haven really did what New Haven likes to do. They ran the ball with power. They won the battle in the trenches. Homestead didn't tackle well at all, and New Haven easily beat them 45-20 at New Haven. So the hometown crowd got to celebrate a championship. Really a special year for New Haven and its 21 seniors. Keep that in mind as we talk next August, because we saw what losing a lot of seniors does to the Luers program. It's going to have a similar effect to New Haven. I'm not saying New Haven will be winless next year, but when you lose 21 talented seniors, it really hurts you. But that's for another day. Right now, New Haven celebrate because they had a really great year.
Well, if there's one team that continuously graduates players year in, year out, it doesn't seem to affect them at all. It's Leo. The Lions had already locked up a share of the ACAC title. A 45-0 win over Bluffton guaranteed them another outright title. No surprise there.
Yeah, Lions have either shared or won the title outright every year since 2009, and so they just keep that string going. Woodland challenged them this year, played them really close, gave them a good game, but, you know, the Lions, they're playing well on both sides of the ball. Now it's really interesting because we don't know what to make of Leo during the regular season because they play a lot of smaller schools. Now they're in with equal competition. So, and, you know, they're going to get tested right away with Wawasee, who's not a bad team at all. So it's going to be interesting going forward to see what the true Leo program is about. You know, in the last couple of years, they've shown that they can hang with the big boys. And, you know, but back to the ACAC, played well again this year, went undefeated, and they'll win that league probably every year until they're out into the NHC.
And finally, the final standings shook out in the NECC, and it's a changing of the guard. Cherubusco, for the first time in a long time, does not have a share of the conference title. Back-to-back losses to close out the regular season. They fall to Fairfield, and then Busco loses at Lakeland. Scored a touchdown to make it 14-13 with about a minute and a half to go. The Eagles opt to go for the win on the road. The 2-point conversion comes up short. So it's Lakeland and Fairfield on top of the NECC.
Yeah, we would have never predicted this 2 weeks ago because Busco was playing pretty well. We thought they might be able to at least get a split or a share of that title. But again, you know, like Leo is dominating in the ACAC, Busco has dominated the NECC. They've won or shared every title since 2008. But, you know, the run defense with Busco has struggled lately, and they've got to get that corrected because they got a really tough challenge in the first round of the sectional with Eastside.
All right, well, conference championships were decided, and, of course, what you did in the regular season means absolutely nothing at this point as we move ahead to the first round of sectional play. coming up on this Friday. Let's start in the newly formed 6A conference. Couple of games that we'll be keeping an eye on. Warsaw at Northrop. Let's start with that. The Bruins at home, but we'll have a tough test against a Tigers team that was runner-up in the NLC.
Yeah, Warsaw has really done a better job. Their program's gotten better each of the last few years under Butler grad. He was a Butler when I was there. Phil Jensen does a nice job. Northrop, conversely, has really struggled this year. It's been a long time since they've played really good football, so I think they're going to have a tough time with Warsaw. You know, if you're Homestead and you're hosting Carroll, they beat you by, I think it was 17 a few weeks ago. I don't know if there's a team playing better football right now than Carroll. I mean, they are really dominating on both sides of the ball. And, you know, Homestead, they can kind of take that mantra. It's a brand new season. Let's forget about the last few weeks. Let's see if we can really turn this year around with a great performance against Carroll. I don't see it happening. I think Carroll's playing great football on both sides of the ball. The Tranquil brothers, if you have them in your fantasy league, you are dominating right now because they are just playing outstanding football. Chargers, I think, win this game pretty easily on Friday.
Interesting. I was going to ask the question because Carroll coming off a very lopsided 79-7 win over DeKalb. But the Spartans, a much tougher test in their final regular season game, but they come up short against New Haven. Do you think that has any impact on how things shake out?
Well, I think it's ironic. Yeah, I think it will, but I think Homestead's lack of tackling against the New Haven runners is indicative of what will happen on Friday. If you're having trouble tackling New Haven's runners, what are you going to do against the Tranquil brothers? And so I think Carroll will be able to run the ball well against Homestead. They'll dominate time of possession as long as they don't turn it over. The only time I've seen them struggle this year is when they've turned the ball over. They've shot themselves in the foot. But they haven't done that in a long time. It's been several weeks since they've really had problems with turnovers. So, like I said earlier, I think Carroll's playing great football right now. I think they win this going away.
And you mentioned the Tranquil brothers. Justin and Drew combined over 2,000 yards on the ground this season. So two Tranquil brothers equal approximately one Adrian Peterson, at least statistically speaking. 5A, kind of a unique situation. Only a couple of games will be played, none of them in the Northeast Indiana area. So we really won't be talking about 5A action until a week down the road when those sectionals really get going. In 4A, a couple of interesting matchups. Let's start with NHC champ New Haven. Travels to Southside. I think most people would favor the Bulldogs in this one handily. I actually think it has the potential to be a fairly interesting game. Southside does have a few explosive players on their roster.
They do. When you have big play capability and you can create some turnovers like Southside can do, anything's possible. Now, having said that, New Haven's playing really good right now, but we saw Norwell upset New Haven last year in the sectional at New Haven. And so anything's possible. And if we've learned anything this year, Joe, we can't predict any of this stuff. Look at our media pick records, and that's indicative of that. But no, New Haven's playing really good football right now. Arias Vasquez looked great the other night, and I just think New Haven's playing better football right now. But Southside, you're right. They do have special teams. They have speed. So anything's possible, but I think that this is a struggle for the Archers this week.
Well, if you want to talk about anything being possible and really just struggling to pick a winner here, how about sectional 19-4? Listen to the teams playing in this. East Noble, Leo, Bishop Dwenger, and a feisty 7-2 Northridge team all could potentially come out of that sectional. Yeah. Let's start with the potential for a second-round matchup between East Noble and Leo, because I think everyone in agreement here. Northwood probably not going to get past the Knights. Leo should take care of Wawasee. That could be a very good second-round game.
Oh, excellent second-round game. What would really make it more interesting is if it were in Kindleville, but it'll be at Leo. And so we've seen that East Noble is a different team away from Kindleville. When they're at Kindleville, they can beat anybody in the world. But it would be at Leo. And so, you know, we just don't know which East Noble team shows up. We've seen them play great. We've seen them lose to Norwell, which at the time really looked like a bad loss. But now that we've seen Norwell rattle off a number of wins, maybe it wasn't that bad of a loss after all. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. However, as all these coaches can tell you, and they can tell their 16, 17-year-olds, don't look past this Friday, or there won't be a next Friday. And so, but yeah, you're right. That Northwood East Noble game, Northwood traditionally has been a really good program, but it's at Kindleville, so I think the Knights win this game and continue their season. But that Dwenger Northridge game, Going to be really, really difficult. Northridge defends very, very well, and they've played a good schedule. Now, they haven't played a murderer's row schedule like Dwenger has. Dwenger really challenges themselves, but Northridge is not just a pushover team. They're going to really be a challenge for Dwenger, but I think Dwenger's playing better offensively than they have at any point this season. Mike Fiacable's getting better week after week. He's running the ball well. He's throwing the ball accurately. I think Dwenger somehow survives this game and gets out of there with a win to keep their season going.
That might be the game, the best matchup overall to watch in the opening weekend of 4A sectional play.
Garrett and Heritage would take offense to that, but
that's true.
Both those games are going to be great.